Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, 3 chances to win fantabulous prizes. At 4 o'clock, our Take the Trip or Keep the Cash. 4:45, our Real Deal giveaway as we review the latest movies. And, of course, at 5:45, your chance to win our Good News giveaway. But before we get to any of that, my friends, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I can't remember the last time I had a lazy Sunday. Yesterday was a half lazy Sunday. Had something to do in the morning, and then the rest of the day I could be kind of lazy and do what I wanted. So I opened up my voting ballots, and I had a horrible, horrible realization. I don't know where the GOP is in Washington State. We love our friends in the GOP. We do. We love Jim Walsh. We love our friends over at the King County GOP. I know not everywhere is like King County. I know not everywhere is like the state, but where is the GOP? I don't think I've ever seen this many races without at least one conservative candidate, without at least somebody worth voting for. Normally there's somebody, and even if we think they don't have a chance of winning, at least somebody's in the race. I'm looking at this, and I'm saying to myself, is the GOP even present in Washington anymore? We had a lot of praise for our friends over at the King County GOP for their voters guide because they were very honest. This is the candidate we endorse, and then this is the candidate who's the best of the worst options. But I'm looking at my ballot, I'm looking at this voter's guide, and I see not just garbage, but crap on top of garbage on top of things I can't say on the radio because I'm looking at some of the worst options ever. It seems like the last time anybody made a real push to try and win anything from our side may have been 2020, maybe. Even in 2024, we complained about how many races there were people who were unopposed. I know the GOP hasn't given up, and I know they have limited resources, and I know they have limited donors. But I got a different question, and I got this question for you, and I actually want answers to this. Why don't you run for office? I know a lot of you are going to say, Ari, you've told us about the death threats. You told us about all. Why would anybody be dumb enough to do that? But I stepped up because I saw something was wrong, and I said I can complain about it all I want, or I can try and do something about it. That actually led me down the path of getting my own radio show. So I'm forever thankful I did that, even though the campaign itself was brutal and vicious for a city council position in 2019. But at the end of the day, if you're tired of bad candidates, why don't you run for office? Because we need you to. What do we hear so often on the show? We hear, Ari, I'm moving to Texas. Ari, I'm moving to Idaho. Ari, I'm moving to Florida. We're moving to all these places. I get it. Believe me, I do. I have conversations with people all the time, waiting to get my pension, waiting till I retire, then I'm out of here. I get it. I get it. But you know what's always part of those conversations? Look at the distance. Look how beautiful our state is. Look what the Democrats are doing to it. I get it. So why don't we have more people stepping up to run? Why don't we? Because I'm looking at this and I'm disheartened. I'm discouraged. And that's just what the Democrats want us to be. And I'm the guy who's supposed to be rah, rah. I know a lot of you are listening to the show right now and you're supposed to be like, Ari, you're supposed to be giving us the confidence and the faith that we're going to win. I'm wearing my I voted sticker today, but I looked at these options. I just went, meh, because that's what so many of these races are. I'm going to go through my ballot right now. And if you have candidates or races you want me to look into, just a reminder, you can email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. And we'll try to get into as many of them as we can. We can't endorse in every race. We can't give recommendations in every race, but we try our very, very best. We really, really do. And we'll have a page on the website that will update as we do this once we put out the formal thing. So here we go. I live in King County. I live in Seattle District 2. So that's what my ballot looks like. If your ballot doesn't look like this, I recommend you go to your local GOP. I know Pierce County does a phenomenal job. I really like the King County Voters Guide. We'll put links up to all that stuff. But I highly recommend you go to those pages. And if you still have questions, of course, email me, ari@kvi.com. King County, proposition number 1. Parks, Recreation, Trails, Open Space Levy. Levy, a.k.a. a tax, which means another tax in a more unaffordable place, and they say, well, it's for parks and open spaces. King County loves turning over our parks and open spaces to the homeless. I have an idea. Why don't you guys audit the King County Regional Homeless Authority, take some of that money and spend it on fixing the parks as opposed to always running to us? This one you should vote to reject it every single time. Every single time. Plus, I don't know if you saw this. This is going to go through 2031, and it's tied to, quote, it's going to be tied to inflation plus the population index, whichever is greater. So this tax is going to be around for a long time and keep going up every single year because King County wants to keep spending money on the failed King County Regional Homeless Authority. Reject King County Proposition number 1 for parks, rec, trails, and open spaces. Okay, now we're into King County Executive. And I look at this, and a lot of people think this race is going to come down to Claudia Balducci and Gurmay Zahile. Neither one of these candidates I like at all. The Seattle Times endorsed Claudia Balducci because they think she's more mainstream, and Gurmay Zahile is more socialist. I'm shocked the Seattle Times went with the more moderate candidate, but that doesn't make Claudia Balducci a moderate. There are so many things. She has gone far to the left. For me personally, she's one of the ones who refused to support adopting the definitions of anti-Semitism used by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. She also has never found a tax she doesn't like. She's also one of the people responsible for the Sound Transit insanity. This is not a moderate. This is a far-left individual. Gurmay is just more far-left. Has anything been going well at the King County Council that you go, wow, these two are spectacular? They both just voted to double down on King County being a sanctuary county. No, I'm not going to hold my nose and vote for either one of them. Of course not. The only option you have on this is our friend Derek Chartrand, who just joined the show on Friday. You can get the podcast over at kvi.com. He's the only conservative in the race, and he's the only person that I don't feel like I need a shower after voting for afterwards. And he's one of the few people that gets my full endorsement because I happen to like Derek, and I think he's a nice guy. And I think he's responsible. I think he'd do a good job. Unfortunately, however, I am worried that this race is going to come down to Balducci and Gurmay, and that's a problem. Mayor of Seattle, what a cluster. Let me make sure I got this right. We've got Katie Wilson, a far-left progressive, who will probably end up one of the top two with Bruce Harrell. Then you've got one lunatic who's homeless, who thinks he'd make a good mayor while he's living in a city-sponsored homeless encampment. You've got another lunatic who lit the Seattle police precinct on fire during the autonomous zone. I mean, if there was a race to run a conservative in or a moderate Democrat, this is it, because Bruce Harrell is trying his very, very best to appear as a far-left progressive to compete with Katie Wilson. So this one name that cropped up is Joe Mallahan. Now, I filled in my ballot before I saw this video. Joe Mallahan, apparently last week during a forum for candidates, talked about how great Katie Wilson is and how he supports a far-left progressive. And if I had seen that before I filled out my ballot, I never would have voted for Joe Mallahan. Not in a million years. What my theory is he's going to take enough votes away from Bruce Harrell that he's going to go to Katie Wilson, if he hasn't done so already, and say, let's join forces, make me deputy mayor, make me chief of staff, make me something like that, because I think you're so brilliant and so wonderful and so fantastic, even though you're a hardcore socialist. So you have no option for mayor. Gee, which one should we choose? Should we choose Bruce Harrell, who's a colossal failure, empty suit, who's trying to be a progressive? Should we choose Katie Wilson, who is actually a progressive? Should we choose the guy who lit the Seattle police precinct on fire? Should we choose the homeless guy? Perhaps we should choose Joe Mallahan, who says the far-left progressive is one of the most brilliant people he's ever met in his entire life. You have no option at all for Seattle mayor. And that's really, really sad. Seattle city attorney. Your only option in this race is Ann Davidson. And I know a lot of you are going to say, Ari, she's fighting the Trump administration. Yeah, I know. You're going to say, Ari, I don't like that she did this. Yeah, I know. You're going to say, Ari, I don't like what she did with these judges and challenging these judges. I'm going to say, yeah, I know. Unfortunately, nobody's perfect. And Rory O'Sullivan and Nathan Rouse and Erica Evans are all terrible. I know Ann personally. I like Ann personally. But let's not forget she's a Democrat who became a Republican and is trying to keep a job in Seattle. Do I like that she's suing the Trump administration over the sanctuary city stuff? No, of course not. I really, really don't. But at the same time, would I prefer somebody like Rory O'Sullivan, Nathan Rouse, or Erica Evans, who's not even going to prosecute crime at all anymore? At least because of Ann Davidson's efforts, some people go to jail. So do I like a lot of her national politics that are going on right now? No, of course not. But at least I don't feel sick to my stomach voting for her. At least I know she's a good person. At least I know she's a nice person. And she's stuck in an impossible political situation. So I say for Seattle City Attorney, give it to our friend Ann Davidson, even with the issues I have with the way she runs that office, especially with regards to the national stuff. City of Seattle, Council District number 2. This is South Seattle. This is where I live. This is also SoDo. This is also Chinatown, the industrial areas over there in Georgetown. I went last night really hoping to find somebody. Really did. So I looked at Adonis Ducksworth. Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth. Immediately I start thinking of every quote from the Mighty Ducks. Another far-left progressive. Eddie Lynn, far-left progressive. Jamie Fackler, far-left progressive. And Jeannie Chun.
Another one.
Exactly.
Another one.
Jeannie Chun, far-left progressive who wears a keffiyeh in her video, even though nothing on her website talks about the Middle East. She's just wearing it to virtue signal to the far left, I'm one of you, which is even worse in my opinion, because at least the people who actually feel that way, at least they have the courage of their convictions. But her, she's doing it literally just as a virtue signal. And I said to my wife, I said, do I write in my dead grandfather? Do I write in myself? Who do I write in? And she goes, well, you're going to be posting these online, right? And I said, yeah. And she goes, and people listen to you when you say this stuff, right? Yeah. So I wrote none of the above and filled in the bubble. There is not a single good option in this race. Not one. Not one. At-large position for City of Seattle. Council position number 8. Well, let's see. We have Alexis Mercedes Rink, who allegedly was having some kind of affair with the guy who runs The Stranger, is a hardcore socialist, Marxist, communist type. Gee, should we vote for her? I don't know. Of course not. The answer is no. Her and Bruce Harrell just cooked up this whole idea to tax businesses more, which means you're going to be paying more for more things. Great. That's her biggest accomplishment. Woo. Bravo. Woo. Woo. Your only option in this race is Rachel Savage. Rachel Savage, who we've had on this show, who we like very, very much. She's your only option, and she's a good option. So far, out of what, 5-6 races, there's only 2 people I actually like, maybe, and have my full endorsement, Rachel Savage and Derek. That's it? Okay. City of Seattle, council position number 9, the other at-large position. And this one we've got Connor Nash, Dionne Foster, Mia Jacobson, and Sarah Nelson. I am not a big Sarah Nelson fan. I'm really, really not. But at least she's a little business-minded. A little bit. I don't like a lot of her policies. I don't like how she rolls over on a lot of stuff. And I really don't like that interaction I had with her and her staff at that event a couple weeks ago where they asked me not to post some videos. I really don't like that at all. I don't. But at the same time, has she been responsive to our needs sometimes? Has she come on the show since, Mike? No, she only comes on the show when she wants to get elected.
How about news?
Exactly. She's the only option out of a bad bunch of options. But once again, can I find a moderate in here somewhere, or is that your definition of a moderate? So I filled in the bubble for Sarah Nelson, but I'm frustrated. I'm really, really frustrated. And I want to give benefit of the doubt to our friends over at the King County GOP because they're a brand new group. They're just getting started, and it takes time to recruit good candidates. But you need to actually do that, guys. And I understand you're just starting out. I understand that. But how many years are we going to say it's a rebuilding year? We sound like the Seattle Mariners. We sound like the Seattle Mariners. Oh, it's a rebuilding year. It's a rebuilding year. I'm so tired of that, as is every single Mariners fan.
We're celebrating 25 years of rebuilding.
There you go. Exactly right. Oh, we had that season where we won 116 games and then we lost in the first round of the playoffs, was it? And I know you're doing very, very well right now, and that's great, and that's wonderful. And if the Mets aren't going to make it, I would root for the Mariners, and I say that out loud to all my friends out there. I really do. I like a scrappy underdog story, but you know how the season's going to end, right? Here, I'll tell you what. Mark the date and time. 7/21, 3:18 p.m. If the Mariners actually make it to the World Series, I will do a mea culpa on the show of some kind. I will make fun of myself, and you can all call in and roast me. That is a promise I'll make right now. Last but certainly not least, City of Seattle Proposition number 1, property tax for the Democracy Voucher Program. Let's go over the Democracy Voucher Program for a second. You are taxed, so a whole bunch of your money can pay for these vouchers you get in the mail, so you can give them to political candidates. What this thing was designed to do was to try and offset big money. We were promised keep big money out of elections, keep big money out of politics. It hasn't done that at all. Now what's happening instead is there's big money in politics, in fact, more than there was before, and it's being augmented with taxpayer money. I did a deep dive into this because Seattle Elections actually reached out to me and asked me to write the statement against the democracy vouchers for the voter's guide because apparently nobody in the GOP decided to run any campaign for this whatsoever. I'm glad that the GOP endorsed the no option. I am glad about that. But guys, this is a clear Republican issue, and nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody. So now I'm the unofficial spokesman for this thing? I did an interview with the Seattle Times this morning, an endorsement meeting about the no position. Now, my feelings on the Seattle Times are well documented. Well documented. It's something that's fun when you're free of inhibitions and you can just talk to people like the Seattle Times editorial board. So when they're sitting there before me, I was nice, I was polite. I don't want to give you the impression I wasn't nice or polite. But my favorite moment came when they said, well, Ari, the Democracy Voucher Program brings in, I forget what it is, $20 million, and they only spend 10 of it. What happens to the rest of the money? And you know what I said to them? The video is going to go up soon. I will clip this and I will put it out. I said, sounds like a good article for the Seattle Times to do an investigation of, doesn't it? Shouldn't you guys assign that? Shouldn't the Seattle Times be looking into that? Now, to be fair to the Seattle Times, and I don't often give them benefit of the doubt, they were against the Democracy Voucher Program originally. And I believe they're going to be against it again because it hasn't done anything it promised to do. Nothing. Not one thing. We know that a guy who came in 6th for the mayor's race last time harvested the most amount of democracy vouchers, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and was spending the money on political consultants and headphones and things of that nature that are not campaign related. A huge, massive amount of waste. And the other side says, well, we fixed that. But when you say how, they can't actually tell you. Do you know who's the driving force behind the yes for the democracy vouchers? Teresa Mosqueda. Teresa Mosqueda, who herself ranked in over $300,000 in democracy vouchers. The last couple elections, she was on the Seattle City Council. Gee, I wonder why she wants this program to continue. They are taking your tax money and infusing it into an election. This thing should be shut down immediately. Immediately. But I will say this in its defense. You guys tried an experiment. And it's okay to try an experiment and to fail. But admit that it failed, which it did. All it did was a bunch of white elitist liberals said, well, I'm going to max out my donations to a political candidate, and look, I get $100 in these vouchers that now I get to give to them also. It didn't level the playing field. It didn't help lesser-known candidates get more well-known or raise more money unless it was some kind of harvesting scam. Instead, all it did was take your money in the most unaffordable city in the country now, the highest amount of inflation, and inject that money into an election. Your taxpayer dollars, and you complain why your rent is so high when it's tied to your property taxes. Vote no on City of Seattle Proposition number 1, property tax for democracy. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to a break, and then I'm going to take your phone calls, and then I'm going to take your texts so we can talk more about this. But as we go to break, I want to ask you this question. When are you going to step up and get involved? Because we need you running for office. And if you don't want to, give me a call and tell me why at 206-421-5757. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We got a lot of great texts about my question about why people aren't running for office. Matt in Seattle says running isn't free and I got bills. Someone wants to pay the fees, I'm in. Matt, as somebody who ran for Seattle City Council, I could tell you, if you make a big enough splash and you get enough donors, that's going to cover those fees to run. But otherwise, yeah, 100%. I don't recommend any candidate put in more than the maximum allowed by office. One, that's illegal. But two, you're trying to do this, you need people to buy into your campaign. And if people aren't buying into your campaign and you launch and then comes the filing date, you don't have the money, don't fill it out. I don't understand these perennial candidates who always run and run and run and run. It costs you like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, sometimes more to keep running for office. That's a lot of money when you have no support. But yeah, Matt, 100%. Legit concern, 100%. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Jason and Lacey. Jason, what's up, man? You driving with the top down? It sounds kind of windy where you're at.
My bad. No, I got the AC cranked up. It's hot in this truck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what's going on, man?
You know, I thought seriously about running for office, but man, I got some serious dirt on me. I don't want to air those skeletons right now.
So that's funny. Some other people said something similar. I think it's funny is that even if you don't have any dirt on you, they will make up the dirt on you like they did when I was running for office. I go, you guys know I got arrested in high school for running away from the cops, right? They never found that. They made up stuff.
Looking at some of the dirt on what's on these guys now, I probably wouldn't look so bad.
Nah, that's right. Exactly. Are you a CEO who got caught on a kiss cam? Because that's the new one, right?
No, not that bad.
Okay, just making sure. Love your wife. Fantastic. That's good stuff. Jason, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. In fact, over on the text line, we got somebody who said something very, very similar. It's that, look, I don't want anybody looking into my finances, and you have to disclose all that. By the way, legit concern. Absolutely a legit concern. Jeff and Kent says never gourmet. Jayapal endorsed him. Yes, I agree. 1,000%. 1,000%. This one from Larry in Magnolia. He says, Hank Williams Jr. knows a good candidate for mayor. Nobody. Which is excellent. Excellent. This one from Bob in the 509. Ari, we rarely even have a moderate Democrat, let alone a leftist, on our ballots for local and county races in Lincoln County. That fact exacerbates our misery when looking at statewide elections. Nothing but machine politicians, supported by the leftist horde who overran urban Puget Sound, Spokane, and the Tri-Cities, with the exception of Pasco, that has a majority of traditionally conservative Hispanic families. I hope the extreme lunatics win every race in urban areas. After all, they own Olympia. Statewide can't get much worse. Let everything go full socialist and burn it to the ground. Then the techie transplants will leave like the plague of locusts they are, and we can rebuild. That's very optimistic, but I'm not sure that's actually going to – they're not actually going to leave, I don't think. That's a problem there. Randy says, no point in running for an elected office. I know the people they've talked about, a large percentage of the population. But yet, when the voting time gets a tiny percentage, not comparable ever since vote by mail. Elections are rigged. You're wasting your time running for office. They count till they get the results. They want, not to mention the Republican Party usually has their, well, I'm not going to finish reading that one, but they think their head is in an inappropriate place. And actually, we got some people sending in some messages saying, Ari, it's not a new Republican Party. 7 of the current King County GOP board members were on the previous board. They're not newbies. How many years can we say it's a rebuilding season? It's a rebuilding season. I'm getting frustrated. And my job is to give you the hope, guys. Believe me, I hear where you're coming from. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from our friend Transit Joe, except Transit Joe, I am putting a limit on you. You do not get to use any nicknames for any candidate you're talking about, because then people won't know who you're talking about.
Fair enough. I will try to overcome my speech disability, and obviously I'm calling about the greatness of Claudia Balducci, who is the only realistic, sane candidate to run. I mean, if Jeremy is the county exec, that's like electing Zan Demi for King County executive. So it's really important to hold your nose and vote for Claudia Balducci, who stood up to Alex Zimmerman, the anti-Semite. She, more importantly...
Wait. Hang on. Joe, I was going to let you off the hook. I was going to let you say your thing, but she refused to pass the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, so she didn't stand up for anti-Semitism. And Alex Zimmerman, as much as we don't like him, he is Jewish. So why do you keep calling him an anti-Semite?
because he hurls Nazi salutes at public meetings, and I've asked him to stop.
Oh, I get
times.
that he's a lunatic. Don't get me wrong. I get that he's a lunatic, but I think he's calling them that. He's not, whatever the case may be. So give me a reason that's a practical reason for why to vote for Claudia Balducci, who blew it with sound transit and so many other things like public safety.
Because, frankly, Jermaine Salahay, a vote for Jermaine Salahay is a vote for Katie Wilson. It's a vote for some Sandemi kind of new politics instead of somebody who's been a competent law enforcement professional, someone who's been pretty doggone competent on sound transit.
She hasn't been competent at sound transit, and she hasn't been competent with law enforcement. Now, if you say to me your argument is she's not gourmet, I will give you that one, Joe. I will give you that one, and I will not argue with you. And I will say, people, if you don't want to put your vote somewhere else, you can put it there. I will give you that argument. But I don't back the same ideas that you have regarding public safety, which she failed at, and sound transit, which she failed at. She's one of the people responsible for the mess we're in right now. She failed you at sound transit, Joe.
I don't feel that way, but go ahead, educate me.
Basically, Joe, is she on the King County? Is she on the sound transit board?
Yes.
Okay. Is sound transit ever on time and ever on budget?
No, they always have issues, and that's fine by me.
Well, that's fine by you, but it's not fine by people like me who are paying the bills for it. Do appreciate the call, Joe. Do appreciate the perspective. Yeah. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Hunter Biden did an interview and admits to dosing his father, among many other things. Tells you how to make cocaine. Very educational. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So the Democrats are at rock bottom polling numbers as a party. People look at them and they say they have no plan whatsoever. It seems like their only plan is to back socialists and democratic socialists, which is the same thing as socialists, but with party hats on. It's the exact same thing. So that's the Democrats' plan. And they have another plan. They go to their ace in the hole. What do? They say, we're going to trot out Hunter Biden to be our spokesman. That's right, Hunter Biden. And it went as well as you would expect with Hunter Biden. Don't forget it's the 1-year anniversary of Joe Biden saying, I'm not running for office no more after that collapse during the debate. So where do we begin? where should we begin? There's so many fun sound clips. Hunter Biden is trying to explain that he's not on drugs anymore and he's been clean for a while. Tell me if this sounds like a person who is not on drugs anymore.
White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a violent crime than an immigrant. And the media says, well, you got David Axelrod and, Rahm Emanuel. So smart Rahm Emanuel. And said, we got to understand that these people are really mad. And we got to appeal to these white voters. Rahm, the only people that appealed to those white voters was Joe Biden, 81 years old, and he got 81 million votes, and he did not because he appeased their Trumpian sense, but because he challenged it. And he said, you can be an 81-year-old Catholic from Scranton that doesn't understand it, but still has empathy for transgender people and immigrants. Then nobody said, oh, Joe Biden's going to turn us into a socialist state, no matter how much they said it. But these guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, you. How are we getting those people back from El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the president of El Salvador and say, you either send them back or I'm going to invade. It's a crime what they're doing. He's a dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both.
Yeah. Okay. Where to begin with all that? So Hunter Biden's now considering a run for president? Is that it? Do you know what the Oval Office would look like if Hunter Biden ran for president? I just want you to picture in your mind, there's memes on the internet which actually show what it would look like everywhere with the drugs and the mess and everything. Yes, now Hunter Biden is going to throw his name in the ring for President of the United States. Wow. Wonderful. Fantastic. I think what he's really mad about is that all the people who give him drugs are being deported right now. All the people he buys drugs from are being deported. Yeah, he actually said why he was so mad about the illegal immigration stuff and Trump actually enforcing the law, which leads to his next racist and cuss-filled rant.
For someone, am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the criminals?
Well, we've gone full Democrat circle, haven't we now? Back to the Civil War. Don't get rid of our slaves. We want to keep them in slave labor, right? That's what it sounds like. By the way, he wasn't done yet. Hunter Biden had a lot of fun facts, like how to make cocaine. He was asked about the infamous cocaine episode in the White House where it was found, and he denied that it was his, but then gave us a whole lesson about how to make cocaine, kids.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, because they think cocaine, Scarface, very cool. Yeah. Crack cocaine, they think The Wire.
Oh, in that sense? Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't know how
Yeah.
similar the chemical compounds are.
Well, the only difference between crack cocaine and cocaine is sodium bicarbonate and water and heat, literally.
That's it?
That's it.
And those things are pretty much free if you go to, like, a science store.
This is free. You can go to your neighborhood convenience store and just get. Anyway, I don't want to tell people how to make crack cocaine, but it literally is.
After just telling people how to make crack cocaine.
Is a mayonnaise jar, cocaine, and baking soda.
How different is the experience?
I don't want to tell people how how to make cocaine, but here's how you make cocaine. He did it twice.
I was vastly different. And like for real, I feel really reluctant to kind of have some euphoric discussion. I know you're not asking me to do that, but have some euphoric discussion about crack cocaine.
I think this might be kind of the opposite here.
Okay, no, it's the exact opposite. I'm saying I don't want to have the experience of some euphoric recall. That's how powerful crack cocaine is.
It sounds like he's kind of in the middle of it right now. That does not sound like a man who's sober. Does he sound like he's sober to you? Then he got mad at the laptop repair store owner. He was mad that he didn't go around asking everybody in bars in the neighborhood whose laptop it was.
Number one, I literally have no memory of ever dropping my laptop off there.
Oh, that's a guy who's totally sober, right?
Okay. This guy swears that I did. Okay. Regardless, to your point, okay, this is Wilmington. That laptop repair shop is in Trolley Square. I had family that owned a business that was literally the opposite side of them. There are literally within a stone's throw of where that person is in a very, very small community, at least a dozen people directly related to my family. Every night he used to go to 2 or 3 different bars in which he could have literally turned and talked to anyone and said, do you know how to get in touch with Hunter?
You're talking about the laptop
repair shop guy. Somehow that doesn't happen. But somehow this guy, who's supposed to be repairing a laptop, he says, decides what he's going to do is he's going to review the material, and what he sees is he thinks is evidence of a crime.
Let me make sure I got this right. You say it's not yours, you didn't drop it off. You have no memory of dropping it off, but then you're mad at the guy for not going to your family members at local bars to find you about it? Actually, for me, as much fun as the cussing is and the drug use and the instructions on how to make cocaine, I actually think this is the most revealing thing. We all said before Joe Biden's disastrous debate with Donald Trump that they were going to jack him up on whatever it was, cocaine, who knows what, give him an upper or something, put him in his Bacta tank beforehand, give him plenty of time to recharge. Hunter Biden admits he dosed his father, with a downer.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as shit. Give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
Let's not forget Hunter Biden was the one taking care of his father. So he just admits that he dosed his father with Ambien to help him sleep before sending him on stage at the debate? I'm shocked the guy was even awake for any part of it. Gave an 81-year-old Ambien after flying around the world. Well, thank you, Hunter Biden. You ruined your father's political career, or what was left of it at the time. When we come back, my friends, lots more to talk about. The WNBA players wore some T-shirts this weekend saying they want more pay and they want their fair share. How can you get your fair share of a company that's been failing for years? We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I can't believe I didn't know it was the WNBA All-Star Game this weekend. I don't know how that just slipped my radar, and I had no idea that was even happening. In fact, the only way I did know it was happening was social media was all a Twitter, because when the players took the court on Saturday, all of them were wearing a black T-shirt that was sending a message to the league commissioner and the team owners that said, "Pay us what you owe us." Now, I think the problem with this is the WNBA has never been profitable. If you are expecting the giant salaries of the NBA, you need more people watching. You need more people buying merch. In fact, I would argue the following. Caitlin Clark does very well on endorsement deals. Sue Bird did very well on endorsement deals. And I would say that's a pretty lucrative lifestyle. But the WNBA lost $40 million last year and is expected to lose $50 million this year. So what they owe you is, what percentage of that would you like to pay? I mean, I'm sorry to be mean here, guys, but there's very few people actually watching your games. They like you guys personally, like the Caitlin Clarks of the world and the Sue Birds of the world, but they're not actually showing up or paying to watch the games. Let's be real about what the WNBA is for the NBA. It is a massive tax write-off. That's what it is run by the NBA. It is a massive loss. It is a massive tax write-off. And this sucks. This sucks for the girls. I do agree that it does suck. But at the same time, you kind of knew what you were getting into at this point. Now, looking at this, you can get the endorsement deals if you're good enough. You can do that. You can make money that way. I'm not saying it's a good second place or anything like that, but it's still more money than I make. You look at something like that, and you say, pay us what you owe us, does that mean the girls have to actually pay the league for the amount of money they're losing? Also, here's something else. You guys get paid to play a sport. I know it's not as much as the guys, but more people are watching the guys. You get paid to play. Just want to remind everybody of that. Interestingly enough, Colbert, the finances are out on Stephen Colbert's show, The Late Show, ever since he got canceled. And apparently he was losing $40 to $50 million a year as well. Gee, you think it's politics that acts this thing? Or do you think it's because the show is losing $40 to $50 million a year? You had the same issue. Not as many people are watching the show to justify having 100 some odd employees. I've been to these shows. I know how many people work there. So let's take the writer's room. At minimum, you have 10 people in the writing room. You have at minimum 4 camera guys. You have the guy in the booth who's pushing all the buttons. You have the band. You have Colbert's salary. You have the announcer, you have all this stuff in the show, and that's before you even factor in the employees from CBS who are pages and everything else for the show because it's in their studios. You have over 100 people working for that thing, and nobody's watching yet again. So everybody mad, saying that this thing was because of politics. Keith Olbermann, definitely not in my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. Keith Olbermann is even calling it out and saying, guys, the show doesn't make any money. That's why it's being canceled, not because of politics. And let's remember, Keith Olbermann has never found a liberal cause he didn't love and support. But he's saying it's not because of Trump. It's not because of that. It's because the show isn't making as much money. You want to put this thing on MSNBC at night? Maybe people will like it more. Maybe you'll have more. Sorry, I was about to say more ratings, but that's beyond ridiculous. When even Keith Olbermann is calling you out for this, that's likely what's actually happening, not because of Trump or lawsuits. I mean, I'm sure that can't be helping. But at the same time, this is something that is because you have hundreds of people working on the show, and you're spending too much making the show, and nobody's watching. Lots more to discuss as our show continues. When we come back, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. Plus, Alaska Airlines suffers massive delays after a nationwide ground stoppage. We'll give you the latest details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 4:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including tickets to see the new Naked Gun movie. But before we get to any of that, my friends, you work hard, you need a giveaway, or perhaps some financial relief. We've got you covered with KVI's Take the Trip or Keep the Cash. This week, you can get away to Iceland, soak in the Blue Lagoon, and gaze at the Northern Lights, or have a chance at $3,000 cash. Now, all you have to do is enter the keyword that I give you to the number that I give you. Just the keyword, not your name, not your address, not your email account, not your phone number, and only to the number I give you, not to my social media, not to my email, not to anything else. And we'll get you in the daily drawing to get a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, and you could win the trip or keep the cash with KVI. Today's word, my friends, I know many of you have been waiting with bated breath. Today's word, my friends, is the word cash. C-A-S-H, that's right, cash money. Or Johnny Cash. Text the word cash, C-A-S-H, to 206-421-5757. That's right, 206-421-5757. You have until 5 o'clock to enter. Only enter the word once, please. Your next chance at winning comes tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Phil and Zach. Just a reminder, my friends, check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and so much more. So just a reminder, you have until 5 o'clock to enter the word cash at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Little story I'm not sure I told you guys about, and I think it's almost the 1-year anniversary of this too. During the RNC last year, when me and young Zach and John Carlson and Jeff Pogula from Northwest News Radio were all flying back here to make it in time for our show. I don't know if you guys remember this. There was a massive ground stoppage of multiple air carriers across the country. We got to the airport in Milwaukee. What a mess. I have never seen a disaster like I saw there. Lines everywhere. People not knowing where lines started and ended. For every single carrier, what an absolute disaster. It was such a mess. We start freaking out because we can barely even tell where the Alaska counter is. We're trying to find the Alaska counter. We finally find it and realize the ground stoppage had affected every single airline except for Alaska because they all worked on the same software. Now, still, people were trying to transfer their flights over, so you had more of a line at Alaska because people were desperately trying to use Alaska because they're the only ones flying, so people were desperately trying to rebook their flights, so the line was a little bit longer, even for us who were ready to go on Alaska. And I remember Jeff Pogula immediately runs over to a corner and starts trying to put a whole story together, and you hear his voice resonating from the corner so he can send it back here to our friends over at Northwest News Radio. But thankfully, our flight was on time, got back here on time. We're on air that day. It worked out okay, but many other people, I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, were trapped that day and couldn't get where they needed to go. Last night, I saw this mess happening with Alaska Airlines, and I'm going to open my phone up here because I got a text from a friend of mine. This is great. He texted me because, I was out on the boat yesterday having a good time, and I wasn't really paying attention to the news. And he says to me, I'm stuck in this Alaska Tech grounding mess. Look it up. We landed at 9 p.m. at SeaTac. We're still on the runway. He sent that to me at 10:32. I don't know what time he actually got off that plane. I'm a bad friend. I probably should have checked in. But then he told me about another friend of ours that was on a direct flight from D.C. to Seattle, had to divert to Omaha because they didn't have enough fuel to deal with the ground stoppage, then had to get on a different plane, then landed the same time as my friend and was stuck in that mess at SeaTac. Now, having been stuck in one of these messes before, I remember I was flying back with my family one time. My wife, my 3 kids who were very, very young at the time, diapers age, and you're getting worried about it. and we're flying with my brother and sister-in-law and their kids and my other brother-in-law and his wife, and we're flying with my in-laws. Now, I think my in-laws were up in premium or first class or something. What was funny was our kids were all behaved, but there was a crying baby in first class. So that was kind of funny. But I remember we had flown out of JFK. I think we're all at a wedding or something like that. We had flown out of JFK, and it was such a mess at JFK. We had a 2-hour delay on the plane at JFK. And then we had another 2 or 3 hours on the ground at SeaTac. And I remember looking at my watch going, I could have flown to Israel by now. I could have gone to Rome. I could have gone to Europe, anywhere else. We were stuck on that plane for almost 10, 11 hours, something like that. I felt really bad for the people. So what was behind this massive shutdown at Alaska Airlines? According to the New York Post, an IT outage led to Alaska Airlines grounding all of its flights for nearly 3 hours Sunday night, leaving worried passengers shaken amid the ongoing travel chaos. Alaska Airlines stated that the IT outage resulted in a temporary system-wide ground stop for Alaska and Horizon Air flights. Around 11 p.m. Eastern Time lasted until 2 a.m. Monday. So that's 11 o'clock our time, which means my friend, who was still talking to me at 10:30, didn't get moving again until 11, and then you had a huge backup of airplanes, so God knows what time you even got home last night. The ground stop has been lifted and our operations have resumed, the Seattle-based airline said. As we reposition our aircraft and crews, there will most likely be residual impacts to our flights. Airline officials shared that it will take some time to get our overall operations back to normal. They advised travelers to check the status of their flight before leaving for the airport, which, by the way, you should still be doing because these things take some time to shake out. They said, we apologize for the inconvenience and encourage guests to check the status of your flight before leaving for the airport. However, we are still unsure what actually caused the IT outage. So, some passengers flying out of Portland International Airport affected by the grounding told KOIN that they were instructed to keep their receipts for hotels and cars to be reimbursed. Others were told they would be rebooked for a flight tonight. I mean, it was a complete mess. The pictures from the airport looked like complete chaos last night. Feel really bad for the people who were trapped in this thing. But immediately, what does everybody do? Everybody takes this in a political direction. So, if you're on Team Trump, you're saying, how did Alaska screw up? If you're on Team Democrats, you're saying, oh, this is because of all the changes to the FAA and everything else like that. Can I remind you guys of a little story? This one here from the Post-Millennial. Let's just bring this one up. It's interesting that this one came out the same day as all the other stuff. The Department of Transportation under Pete Buttigieg spent $80 billion, billion with a B, on diversity, equity, and inclusion grants while the agency delayed the upgrades of air traffic control. So this friend of mine who's texting me about all his air woes also flies out of Newark all the time. He's got family in New Jersey, and he's always visiting them. And he always tells me how Newark is a mess. And let's not forget the FAA and the Trump administration have been trying to fix Newark because it's such a mess. So Pete Buttigieg, who is also considered to be a contender for the 2028 presidential race, at one point told industry executives that upgrades to air traffic control would allow more planes to fly, so why wouldn't that be in his best interest? Wait a second. Hang on a second here. So you think upgrading everything with DEI was going to make more planes fly? Ha! I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. Let me make sure I got this right. You think DEI is going to allow for more air travel? Do you remember when all the country's airplanes got grounded because of a Pete Buttigieg DEI move? Do you remember when they tried inserting some code to change it from airmen in the pilot system to, what was it, air people or pilots or something? They were changing it to something more gender non-specific. And then what do you know? The whole system crashes. You remember that mess? So how'd that get more planes flying? How many full ground stoppages? Look, the ground stoppage at the RNC, that was on Buttigieg's watch. Never mind the exploding trains that derailed and all that other fun. So records reviewed by the New York Post show that Buttigieg was much more interested in handing out $80 billion in DEI grants over the 4 years he was in a cabinet role. Quote, he definitely was pushing an agenda, one industry official told the outlet, and added that Buttigieg had little to no interest in modernizing the air traffic control system. Let's back up for a second here. This thing has needed to be updated for decades, literally for decades. If you guys are still running on floppy disks at a lot of these airports and have to buy your parts on eBay, you've got problems, which means Democrat and Republican presidents and administrations should have done something about this and didn't. You know what your golden opportunity was? Here, I'll bash Republicans a little bit. Your golden opportunity was right after 9/11. Hey, you know what? While we're looking at security and all this other stuff, maybe we should upgrade some of this stuff so we're not using floppy disks anymore. You know, we still had like Ethernet and stuff back in the early 2000s, right? I remember it was a huge deal if you had Ethernet. Lightning fast Wi-Fi. That's what we all wanted back then. But they were still running floppy disks by then. We were already in the CD-ROM, fully in this. We were already ripping and burning CDs by 2001, and you're running floppy disks? So this is something that has been for decades in the making. Who actually did something about it? Trump and Secretary Duffy. They're the ones actually doing something about it. Meanwhile, no administration did beforehand. And Buttigieg was giving out DEI grants. Can you tell me how that makes air travel safer? Can you tell me how that gets us more pilots or more air traffic controllers? By the way, other good news is that there's been a massive influx in people applying to be air traffic controllers. Ever since people found out there was a mess, they go, wait a minute, you're going to pay for all my training and I don't have any debt and I can do this right out of school as opposed to getting an art degree that I can't do anything with? I'll become an air traffic controller. Why did no other president do this beforehand? Sources say that Buttigieg spent a great deal of his time blaming airlines for delays, as well as vilifying the industry while leaving old air traffic control system that has not been updated since the Carter administration in place. The Carter administration. Okay, Mike's a little bit older than me, but during the Carter administration, check me on this here, Mike, okay? VHSs, I know you were like,
Wait. You think I was alive during the Carter administration?
The Carter, before Reagan.
Sure.
Yeah, but you were like 5 or 6.
How old do you think I am?
4, 2, or 3.
I mean,
or
yes,
1.
the first number is a 4, but not that many more than you.
That's
Goodness.
a fair point. That's all fair points.
No, I was born a couple years before President Reagan was elected.
There we
Fine.
go. Okay,
yes.
that's all
So
we're
as
doing.
a drooling toddler, I got to see part of the Carter administration.
Exactly.
Please continue.
I will continue. So VHSs came out in the Reagan administration. That's when they got widespread use, right?
Yeah, for home use.
For home use, right.
Yeah.
They existed, but they won the war over beta in the Reagan administration.
Sure,
right?
yeah,
Sure, let's
yeah.
go with that. Okay. So now you're talking about during Bush Sr., we finally started seeing CDs around. That's when you had them on. You were seeing it towards the end of Reagan, I think it was, and then they were in mass use by Bush. And then during Clinton, you had the computer and the home computer and all that kind of stuff was around and the internet and all that. So, yeah, I mean, we're still working on technology based around VHS. Anybody still got a VCR rewinder around? That's the technology we're running on right now, guys. So, at first, the Department of Transportation and he were reluctant to say there was an air traffic controller shortage or that the shortage has anything to do with flight delays or flight cancellations. You know, there's a great B plot in a West Wing episode where they bring in a political consultant who's trying to help them get reelected, trying to help the administration get reelected. And the entire administration is worried about the fact that there are more homeless people since their administration took office, but it's because they're using a new formula to show more accurate numbers, which says there's more homeless people. And the political consultant who they bring it to him at the end of the show, what do we do? Oh my God, there's going to be more homeless people. More political people would be a problem too. There's going to be more homeless people on our watch. And Bruno Gianelli looks at the guy and he says, wait a minute, you're telling me that this administration is fixing a formula that's been wrong for years so now we can correctly address and deal with the problems? You should be singing this from the rooftops. And you should be saying, of course we fixed it. Why didn't anybody else fix it beforehand? Pete Buttigieg took the other route. Pete Buttigieg was afraid to admit they had a shortage of air traffic. He should have said, I'm going to be the one to fix it, not the one to suppress it, not the one to hide it, but that's Pete Buttigieg. Let's not forget he's a member of the cabinet as Secretary of Transportation, and this is a guy who was perfectly content concealing Joe Biden's declining health. Leaders step up and say, I want to fix this problem. Not, oh, I'm just going to let it sit there for the next guy because I'm too embarrassed to admit it. A spokesman for Buttigieg rejected the claims from the New York Post and pointed to more hiring in the air traffic control space as well as software changes. Oh, the software changes. You mean like the airman thing? Are those the software changes we're talking about? Is that what, oh, Mike's got information for us. What do you got there,
See,
Mike?
I thought the moment had passed, but now it's you've given me the gift of coming it back. Basically, what we were talking about changing the name to Airmen, it wasn't that they changed the name; it was the messaging system, the NOTAM system. It was a notification system which had been called Notice to Airmen.
That's what it was.
Whereas Buttigieg changed it to Notice to Air Missions.
Ah.
Same acronym.
Right.
Didn't change the acronym, just changed it from Notice to Air Men to Notice to Air Missions, which is gender neutral and actually kind of like more accurate to what it's doing, actually.
Oh, sure.
Ironically enough.
Oh, sure. But when you do that, the priority is keeping the planes in the air. And then we had that whole tech screw up that happened around the time. That's the issue. I don't even care so much about the DEI stuff, but that was his issue when he's not addressing the floppy drives in the air traffic control towers. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from John in Redmond, who apparently remembers the Cardin administration. John, what's going on?
Oh, I do so well. But anyone today who refers to the supposed administration of Carter should offer that caveat that there was really no administration there. It was just kind of a mishmash of people moving around the White House, boots on the Resolute desk, jeans, no suits, no ties. It was a complete disaster, and so we should always offer the caveat of alleged administration, supposed administration, whatever word.
Well, it sounds like, John, what you're describing is you're describing a combination between the Zelensky administration and the Biden administration. In fact, we know that Joe Biden really emulated Jimmy Carter. Do you remember that picture that got printed where Joe Biden and Jill look like giants standing next to the Carters because they used the wrong kind of lens in the picture, and they look like the giants in the world of the little people? And then when they're hugging, everybody goes, this is the moment when Jimmy Carter passed on the worst president in history to Joe Biden through physical contact. This was the moment. That's exactly what it was. John, appreciate the call.
Wonderful,
appreciate the walk down.
Ari.
Thank you. Appreciate the walk down memory lane. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, illegal aliens released by the Biden administration shoot a Border Patrol agent in New York. Is anybody surprised? And is the left actually defending this? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just want to remind you, coming up at 4:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes during our Real Deal giveaway. We're going to be giving away 2 tickets, count them 2, to an advanced screening of the new Naked Gun movie, and you get to see it with us, which is even more fun. So make sure you keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Mike in Port Orchard. Mike, what's going on?
Hi, Ari. I grew up, my father was an air traffic controller for 19 years, Air Force, and then a civilian. Back whenever we were upgrading to the Doppler sets in GPN 22. A lot of the systems work the way they're supposed to do if people are properly trained. You can run an airport. My dad ran, when Patco went on strike during Reagan, my dad ran Nellis Air Force Base and McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas at the same time for 4 months until the new controllers came on board. Okay? It's all about the proper teaching of the people and making sure that they understand the rules of what they're doing and do it all the same way. And believe it or not, they still use pencils.
Well, yeah, it's a lot easier to hack a pencil, would be my guess.
Well, no. You use a pencil to write the number of the plane that you're handing off to somebody else, and you hand them the card, and he takes it from one side to the other.
Sure, I was going to joke that maybe they're still using the pencils to move the cassette tapes. You know, and when they unspool themselves, you're using the pencil for that.
Yeah, well, that's back in our high school days. Okay?
Yeah, so your father was part of all that fun when Reagan fired the air traffic controllers?
Oh, it was a mess. And the worst part about it was what a lot of people didn't realize, the guys walked off 3 times. The 3rd time with people in the air.
Wow. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I will say, though, is that something that's interesting to me is you mentioned the training. And if people are properly trained, and we know during the Biden administration, they didn't put so much on your intelligence or your skill set. They were hiring people based on the DEI practices. Do you think that was a contributing factor to all the problems during that administration?
Oh, there was problems with the incident in Washington, D.C. No helicopter is going to fly through the jet wash of a plane landing on a landing strip.
Yeah.
Okay? The controller should have told him to spot the plane. Once he spotted, he should have told him to hold and wait for the 3 planes that were trying to land to pass, and then he could have proceeded.
I almost forgot about that incident. Thank you for reminding me about that tragedy, Mike. It's an important lesson that we had to learn the hard way. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the historical perspective and the knowledge. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Last weekend was the Turning Point USA convention. And our friend Jonathan Cho, who was working for Frontlines at the time, which is run by Turning Point USA, got an interview with Tom Hoffman, who we know is the border czar, and found out some interesting things about our locality from both of them during this discussion. Give a listen.
I'm the Seattle bureau, essentially, for Turning Point's Frontlines team, so it's nonstop.
Not a real popular guy either.
Yeah, they know me by name, and I have to now dress up in black bloc to cover this stuff. Can you believe that? I have to go undercover.
I can believe it. Our ice agents. Well, you're the guy.
Yeah, I'm the guy.
All right.
When you started these targeted arrests earlier this year, you knew it was always going to be a risk, but did you think it was going to get this bad for your agents?
I said from day one, as soon as he won the presidency, the vilification of ICE and Border Patrol are going to start immediately. And the people that are hating on, the people that are protesting, throwing rocks on him, none of them have a backbone to strap a gun to their hip. None of them have the courage to take a criminal alien on. And they're the cowards. That's why they wear masks. That's why they throw a stone and running away. You know, they probably live in their mother's basement, got nothing other to do than go hate on ICE. But bottom line is, we're not going to stop doing this job.
Now, there was a viral video this weekend of our friend Katie Daviscourt from the Post Millennial down in Portland. And it was taken from above, so I think it's somebody's apartment who's zooming in on something down below, but it's clearly Katie, surrounded by a bunch of the Antifa lunatics who've been protesting outside the ICE facility in Portland for 5-6 weeks now. I can't even keep track of how long Katie's been down there. And they assaulted her. It's a flat-out shoving, pushing. The whole deal is down there. You see it on video. And yet these guys are allowed to have the run of the town. The feds are doing what they do to protect the ICE facility, but where's the Portland Police Department? Shouldn't they be dealing with this? This is the same question I had regarding the Seattle Police Department when we had the insanity going on outside the ICE facility in downtown Seattle, outside the federal building. Where was the Seattle Police Department? Where are local leaders to actually address these things? Journalists are getting assaulted. And it's not just people like Katie Daviscourt. Mainstream media journalists are getting assaulted down there, too. They're not doing anything about it. Tom Hoffman had a bunch more to say to our friend Jonathan Cho.
Antifa and all the rest of those are not going to bully me. I'm going to Portland and I'm going to Seattle. Just like I went to Chicago, like I went to New York. But when I go to Portland, Seattle, it's going to elevate that issue up here. And plus, I want to send a message to men and women of ICE that, hey, I got you six. I know it's tough out here, but we're not forgetting about it. We're going to give you all the resources you need.
Do you have those Portland or Seattle visits set yet? Do you have the dates for those?
It's coming. I don't have the exact date, but I talked to my chief of staff today, and she'll be working on it. I will be in Portland. I will be in Seattle, and you can count on it. Matter of fact, we're going to double down, triple down.
Yeah, and that's what's going on right now, because now we have this insanity where the blue cities are just going, we're not going to do anything about it at all. We're going to let this insanity keep going on. So now there's a new Republican bill, which is going to put anarchist jurisdictions like Seattle, like Portland, like New York, like Los Angeles on notice and threaten them with federal funding. So, according to Fox News, a Senate Republican wants to slash federal funding to anarchist jurisdictions that run afoul of President Donald Trump's immigration agenda in the wake of the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. Senator Tim Sheehy, Republican from Montana, plans to introduce the Stop Anarchists from Endangering Our Cities Act, otherwise known as the SAFE Act, which would put cities that push back against the Trump administration's immigration plan in danger of losing federal funding. Sheehy's bill would direct Attorney General Pam Bondi to identify and publish a list of anarchist jurisdictions. If a city is on the list, their funding would be put in jeopardy. From there, the Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vaught office would introduce guidance to the heads of various federal agencies to restrict anarchist jurisdictions' eligibility to receive federal grants. And by the way, the stuff they're allowing on the streets is crazy. They allowed looting. They allowed assault of federal agents. They allowed assault of police officers. They had no problem with any of this. This is the stuff that was going on, and it's completely insane. Completely insane. So, yeah, they deserve to lose their federal funding. And let's not forget why they're going after these illegal aliens in the first place. These are people who are dangerous, super dangerous to us. For example, an illegal immigrant with a prior conviction for child molestation has been arrested and charged with assaulting two federal immigration officers who attempted to detain him last month. Victor Martin Lara Lopez, 41, is facing 2 counts of assault on a federal agent after allegedly using his vehicle to flee an attempted arrest by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents in Pasco, Washington. According to federal court documents, ICE deportation officers were attempting to detain him on an administrative warrant for immigration violations when they spotted him driving a truck. Agents used 2 vehicles to block him in, activating emergency lights, and approached his driver's window while wearing marked ballistic vests. Lara Lopez partially rolled down his window, refused to identify himself or turn off the vehicle. When officers attempted to physically stop him from fleeing, he allegedly reversed, then accelerated forward, nearly crushing both agents between vehicles, struck an ICE vehicle before speeding away. One officer sustained bruises in the arm. The other one reported shoulder pain and limited mobility following the altercation. The same day, a federal arrest warrant was issued for this guy, but he remained at large for nearly a month. He was under active supervision by the Washington State Department of Corrections. Following a conviction for child molestation in the second degree with aggravating circumstances, a position of trust. So this is a guy who should have been deported and wasn't, because Washington State is a sanctuary state. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Looks like the mainstream media is trying to control foreign policy for the Trump administration. It's a little crazy what they think they have the power over. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, you have until 5 o'clock to enter the keyword I gave you at 4 o'clock for your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. Your next chance to enter the contest comes at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning during the morning ride with Phil and Zach. So there's this interesting article in Axios, and it's clear that Axios, along with some people who are inside the Trump administration, are trying to run foreign policy around Trump's back. They're trying to make Trump do what they want versus what Trump wants to do. Are these plants of the deep state? Are they people who've just been there forever that think they know better than whoever the administration is? Are they high-profile members of the Trump administration? We don't know because there are anonymous sources inside the Trump administration. Either way, they are trying to undermine President Trump's foreign policy. Let me set the stage for you for a second. Since October 7th, Israel has been on a 7-front war, which has been overwhelmingly successful. And one of the things that has been successful is Israel did Operation Grim Beeper, took out Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah was propping up the Assad regime in Syria. The Assad regime collapsed, was taken over by another terrorist organization, some guys who are members of ISIS and such. And now those guys are claiming they want to be more moderate. And Trump is trying to keep peace in the area and saying, well, can we actually make peace with these guys? Look, we'll pull off some sanctions perhaps, and then we'll see how things go. Trust but verify. I'm fine with all that. I really, really am. I'm fine with all that. What I'm not fine with is what started last week, which we spoke about a little bit on last week's show. Last week, what happened were militia members in Syria decided to start massacring the Druze population in Syria. If you don't know what the Druze are, biblically, what a lot of people believe is they are the offshoots of Yitro, of Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. Or there's some kind of offshoot of Islam. It's a little complicated to explain in the short segment I get on the radio show, so let's just go with those two for a minute. But basically, you have these Syrian militia groups that are massacring these people, forcing them to jump off buildings, raping, torturing, beheading, you name it, all the atrocities that jihadis commit. Nobody's coming to help them. Not the UN, not Amnesty International. You haven't heard a word about this. But Israel has instead been coming to their aid because they're right nearby, and there's a massive Druze population in Israel, not Jews, Druze. And they said, can you save our brothers and sisters? And Israel's going to do it. In the process of doing it, Israel has been bombing targets in Syria and in Damascus. And apparently, some people think this is undermining Trump. So, here's the article from Axios. As smoke and debris swirled over the Syrian presidential palace, the chatter in the West Wing grew louder. Benjamin Netanyahu is out of control. What they're saying. Quote, Bibi acted like a madman. He bombs everything all the time. This could undermine what Trump is trying to do. A second senior U.S. official also pointed to the shelling of a church in Gaza this week. That's a whole other story, which we'll get to at another time, which led President Trump to call Netanyahu and demand an explanation. The feeling is that every day there is something new. What the F? A third U.S. official said there's growing skepticism inside the Trump administration about Netanyahu, a sense that his trigger finger is too itchy and too disruptive. Netanyahu is sometimes like a child who just won't behave. Okay, so according to Axios, you have 6 U.S. officials who are saying all of this. Now, I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paragraphs down here in the article. And you might overlook this line with everything that was before it. Quote, however, Trump has so far refrained from public criticism, and it's unclear if he shares his advisors' frustrations. It is not totally clear whether he shares his advisors' recent concerns about Israel's actions in Syria. So basically what you've got is either people who are members of the administration, people who are members of the deep state, or bureaucrats who have been there forever who are trying to push Trump into a fight with Netanyahu and take support away from Israel. I got a question. Why isn't any other country stepping in and trying to save the Druze population, especially the Arab neighbors of Syria? Why is Israel the one that's doing this? I don't expect America to get involved. I really don't. We don't want America getting into another war. But you're talking about the countries in that area should be stopping what's going on in Syria, and they're not. So what's the motivation of these people trying to undo Trump's agenda. Look, basically the way it is Trump is the velvet glove in the Middle East, and Israel is the iron fist. When Trump tries to make a deal with you, if you make a deal with him, like Qatar and these other places do, then Trump goes, I love you, you're the best, let's make money together, and that's what happens. But if you don't do things right, Trump says to Israel, do what you want, baby, I'm going to look the other way, just save me an F-18 as a souvenir, make it a gold-plated F-18, I'll be very happy. That's basically the way this is going. But some people seem to not like that. Remember all the talking heads on our side of the aisle who were saying, oh my God, we're going to bomb Iran and get drawn into World War III? There's a scene from the new Superman movie which made me guffaw out loud. It literally made me guffaw. Remember at the time of the Iran bombing, we found out it was a whole bunch of bot accounts that Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and all the others were catering to, and all these bot accounts were spreading the stuff they were saying everywhere. Lex Luthor in the new Superman movie, sorry, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's a pretty funny one. And I think by now everybody who plans on seeing this thing has seen it. Lex Luthor is running a bot farm run by monkeys or tweeting mean things about Superman. And I literally laughed out loud when I saw that going, oh my God, the monkeys are running the bot farms for Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and everybody else and Putin and you name it. There are bot farms out there. It's literally the news. It's Lex Luthor behind it. Where's a bald man who's a billionaire? Jeff Bezos! Bezos must be behind it. Let's find Bezos. He's Lex Luthor. But yeah, I mean, truth is stranger than fiction. So once again, Axios seems to be trying to influence foreign policy. By the way, the article is written by Barack Ravid, one of these guys who has been a shill for this kind of bad foreign policy since years and years and years ago. So are we surprised by any of this, that they're trying to undermine what Trump and Netanyahu are doing? No, of course not. But it does, once again, throw a spotlight on the bias of mainstream media. You should ask why they're trying to send you in a different direction and why they're trying to undermine the Trump administration. When we come back, my friends, my review of the latest movies, plus your chance to win 2 tickets to an advanced screening of The Naked Gun with the KVI crew. That's up next. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. A couple of weeks ago, we had an interview with a director named Salvador Litvak. He's a Jewish director who made a movie called Guns and Moses. Now, the title cracks me up because every kid of the 80s and 90s who's Jewish has a T-shirt that says Guns and Moses, but it's with the Guns N' Roses logo, or a yarmulke that says that, and we all find it funny. But there's a movie now called Guns and Moses, and the tagline is, "May God and your Glock protect you." So I go, Judaism and a rabbi shoot-'em-up movie? Of course I want to go see this thing. But I assumed, you know what, it's going to be some junky skit kind of funny thing. And we had Salvador Litvak on the show. He was talking about this thing like it's an action thriller, and I hadn't seen the movie yet, but he was so excited about it and talking about the stars that are in it. He got me really, really interested in going to see this movie. So me and my wife took a night off, went to go see the movie. Didn't know what to expect at all. Had seen the trailer and go, this looks awesome. A rabbi who's shooting things and stuff looks great, looks fantastic. I got to say, I really, really enjoyed it. And not just because I'm Jewish. I enjoyed it because it's original. A rabbi goes country western, like a gunslinger kind. Here's how IMDb describes the movie. A beloved small-town rabbi in the high desert becomes an unlikely gunslinger after his community is violently attacked. Perfect, apt description. There are twists. There are turns. It's a really well-done movie. And unlike most of Hollywood, who there's a gajillion Jews in Hollywood, we all know this one got all the Jewish stuff right. And the stuff they had to change was so that people who aren't Jewish would understand. But they got all that stuff right. This was a lot of fun. And it's starring some people you might know. For example, Neil McDonough. You've known him. He's in a ton of stuff. He's in Minority Report. He's the guy who works with Tom Cruise to go arrest people. He's in Captain America. He's one of the Howling Commandos. He's in Star Trek First Contact. He's the helmsman who gets assimilated by the Borg. You know this guy. You've seen him in a lot of stuff. Always a great actor. Did a great job. Did a phenomenal job. The guy who plays the rabbi, Mark Feuerstein, he's a bit character in a lot of things who you know, but something you may know him from, I talk about The West Wing all the time. He's the Republican who dated Donna for a while and later comes back to work for the administration. Does a phenomenal job. This thing isn't something on a rinky-dink budget that's just pushed out because somebody felt like making a movie. This is a real movie. It's a real thriller. And it's a lot of fun, whether you're Jewish, whether you're not Jewish.
Where in hell did you actually see this movie, Ari? It only opened in 77 theaters.
So what's funny is it was in limited release and it was playing at South Center. It was playing at South Center. So I went to South Center and I'm looking. It's a limited release movie, okay? And I'm sure a lot of you are probably going to watch it on digital download if you choose to watch it because you are having trouble finding it in the theaters. We want to support the movie. We want to go. In fact, going to the movie was part of the experience because this is the oddest group of people I've ever seen in a theater together. So a lot of people from my synagogue had gone to a screening earlier on and actually were texting me, spoilers! I love you all. But they're texting me stuff about the movie as I was about to sit down and watch the movie. I love you all. We had some great discussions about this. But I told everybody in my synagogue, I said, guys, this is a thriller. This is a shoot-'em-up. And it's starring a bunch of actors you know and the people you go to synagogue with. It's really a lot of fun, and it's well done. Really well done. People put care and passion into this project. It is clearly a passion project, and I recommend you see it. Probably because it's in limited release. Limited release. You're going to have to wait until you can actually see it on digital download. But it's a lot of fun. I'm not just saying that because it's a Jewish movie. Look, The Hebrew Hammer, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And for some reason, people think it's great. Absolutely terrible. I've seen some bad movies with Jews in them before. This one, actually a lot of fun, and there's twists and turns in the plot. I mean, I called them because I watched too many movies, but my wife was surprised by a whole bunch of them. Lots of fun. A really great movie. And Mike and I talk about this all the time. It's an original idea. It's an original idea. And we really hit Hollywood all the time for their lack of original ideas. My sister-in-law called me yesterday. It's her birthday, and she said, we want to go to the movies. What should we see? Should we see Superman? Should we see Jurassic Park? And as she's listing all these things, I said, it's sequel after sequel, reboot after reboot, whatever it is. I said, go see Guns N' Moses. I don't think they ended up seeing it. I think they ended up seeing Superman. But I said, go see Guns N' Moses because at least it's original. I want a new original movie. And I was shocked how much I actually enjoyed this movie. So I recommend everybody check it out. Lots of fun.
And I would say, though, it's opened in 77 theaters nationwide. As Ari said, it's limited release. But 2 of those 77 are here. It's playing at the AMC South Center, and it's also playing at the AMC Alderwood Mall up in Linwood. So there's at least a couple opportunities to see it this week if you listen to this review and want to go check it out.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. But it's really...
Yeah, go support original movies.
Exactly. It's an original movie. I will give you one tale of caution, is that because it's an independent movie that's released, you have to deal with all the indie trailers before it. So show up 15 minutes late so you can skip the indie trailers that are before the movie. That's one point of caution. But this movie, it's not an indie movie. It is filmed like a real Hollywood thriller movie. Everything's great about it. I really cannot say enough good things about it, so much so that I actually got up in my synagogue this Saturday when I was making announcements for after services and told everybody to go see the Guns N' Moses movie. That got a lot of laughter. Here's something else. For those of you who are more religious, whatever your religion is, it's clean. It's clean. No sex, no cussing, none of that kind of stuff. They're shooting and there's a little bit of blood. But aside from that, it's a clean movie too. How often do you get an original Hollywood idea that's clean also? So if you're looking, I told all my rabbi friends who don't see movies anymore because they don't want to see that kind of stuff, I told all them, guys, I found a movie you can actually go see in theaters. I don't know why every rabbi friend of mine, the last movie they saw in theaters was either Star Wars or Star Trek. But yes, this one you can go see, even if you're more religious and worried about there being other stuff in it. This you can go see. Before I forget, your chance to see a movie that's the complete opposite is going to be filled with dirtiness. We are giving away 2 tickets to see The Naked Gun in advanced screening. Plus, the KVI crew is going to be there. That's right, my friends. Your chance to win 2 tickets to advanced screening of The Naked Gun.
To see it with us, we have a whole dang section, my friend.
Yes, a whole section of this thing, as a matter of fact, okay? We're going to be there. Mike's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Zach's going to be there. I don't think Phil's going to be there, but it's going to be a lot of fun. See The Naked Gun only in theaters starting on August 1st. August 1st. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Join the KVI crew. An advanced screening of The Naked Gun. Caller number 10 will win 2 tickets. When we come back, my friends, final hour free-for-all. Your thoughts, your calls, your stories, plus so much more. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour, free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Congratulations to Caleb in Silverdale. You get to join the KVI crew at an advanced screening of The Naked Gun. Your next chance to win fantabulous prizes is coming up at 5:45. But before we get to that, my friends, a bombshell story broke over the weekend. And I think it's worse than Watergate. I really, truly believe this. And I want to know what you think. As you're listening to me tell this story of what the Obama administration did to undermine the Trump administration, if you think it's worse than Watergate, text me at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. There is a neighbor of mine. Very nice people, very hardcore lefties. When I see them, we wave, we say hi, we don't talk much. They know who I am. I know what they stand for because they have every flag you can imagine and they have every yard sign you can imagine. Their son had a bumper sticker on he's a very, very big kid, and he's driving one of those little tiny mobiles where you're just like, how does somebody get in and out of that thing? Looks like a driving coffin. But he had all these anti-Trump bumper stickers, and one that always resonates in my head because my kids noticed it when they were younger it's a picture of Trump, and it says, "From Russia with love." You remember the Russia narrative? That was complete BS. Well, now we found out that the Obama administration manufactured and politicized intelligence to create the narrative that Russia was attempting to influence the 2016 presidential election, despite information from the intelligence community stating otherwise. So basically what's happening is they're saying in their morning briefings in the Oval Office or wherever they're having them in the Situation Room, hey, is Russia trying to mess with our elections? And the intelligence community says, let's look into it. No, they're not. And then the Obama administration is saying, yes, they are. But the intelligence community is saying, no, they're not. And the Obama administration is saying, yes, they are. We're going to tell everybody yes. On Friday, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard declassified documents revealing overwhelming evidence that demonstrates how, after President Donald Trump won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton, then President Barack Obama and his national security team laid the groundwork for what would become the years-long Trump-Russia collusion probe. Documents reveal that in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community consistently assessed that Russia was probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means. According to the documents reviewed by Fox News, one instance was on December 7th, 2016, Pearl Harbor Day, weeks after the election. Then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper's talking point stated, foreign adversaries, surely you mean adversaries, dear boy. Foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome. But according to a copy of the Presidential Daily Brief, which was prepared by the Department of Homeland Security, with reporting from the CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, FBI and National Security Agency and Department of Homeland Security, State Department, and open sources for Obama, dated December 8th, 2016. Quote, we assess that Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. Quote, Russian government-affiliated actors most likely compromised an Illinois voter registration database and unsuccessfully attempted the same in other states. The brief stated that it was highly unlikely that the effort would have resulted in altering any state's official vote result. Quote, criminal activity also failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. The brief noted that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence assessed that any Russian activities probably were intended to cause psychological effects, such as undermining the credibility of the election process and candidates. The brief stated that cyber criminals tried to steal data and to interrupt election processes by targeting election infrastructure, but these actions did not achieve a notable disruptive effect. According to the declassified but redacted documents that are communications from the FBI from the Presidential Daily Brief, it stated that should not go forward, that any investigation, communication should not go forward until the FBI had shared its concerns. These communications reveal that the FBI drafted a dissent to the original presidential daily brief. So every single intelligence agency says there's no there. But the FBI says, nah, we disagree. Communications reveal that the brief was expected to be published on December 9th, the following day. But later communications reveal that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, based on some new guidance, decided to push back publication of the presidential daily brief. So what you're saying is they're now saying, oh, wait, hang on. We know the intelligence community says nothing happened here, but maybe we need to revise this for the official documentation? Quote, it will not run tomorrow, as not likely to run until next week, wrote the Deputy Director of the Presidential Daily Brief at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, whose name is redacted. The following day, a meeting convened in the White House Situation Room with the subject line stating summary of conclusions for PC meeting on a sensitive topic, which is redacted. The meeting included top officials in the National Security Council, Clapper, then CIA Director John Brennan, then National Security Advisor Susan Rice, then Secretary of State John Kerry, then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and then Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Wow, really the rock stars of the Obama administration. The declassified report revealed that principals agreed to recommend sanctioning of certain members of Russian military intelligence and foreign military intelligence chains of command responsible for cyber operations as a response to cyber activity that attempted to influence or interfere with U.S. elections. If such activity meets the requirements from an executive order that demanded the blocking of property belonging to people engaged in cyber activities. After the meeting, according to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, Clapper's executive assistant emailed the intelligence community leaders, tasking them to create new intelligence community assessment per the president's request. Whoa. Later, Obama officials leaked false statements to media outlets claiming that Russia has attempted through cyber means to interfere, if not actively influence, the outcome of an election. By January 6, 2017, 3 days before Trump was sworn into office, a new intelligence community assessment was released that, according to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, directly contradicted the IC assessments that were made the previous 6 months. Intelligence officials told Fox News that the ICA was politicized because it suppressed intelligence from before and after the election, showing Russia lacked intent and capability to hack the 2016 election. That didn't stop people from claiming what they claimed, including people like Adam Schiff, including everybody like Hillary Clinton, including everybody in the Democrat Party. Here's Tulsi Gabbard saying how bad it was.
There's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. And that's really the point here that I think is most important, Maria, and you said it in your opening. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. Accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again.
So I asked at the beginning of the segment, do you think this is worse or not as big of a deal as Watergate? Over on the text line, 206 says worse than Watergate. The 253 says, yes, it is worse than Watergate. Lee, over on the text line, says worse than Watergate. Kurt from Kirkland also says that. From the 425, I believe that the Obama administration is the true insurrection, not January 6th, and worse than Watergate. So this one here from Robin Lakewood, worse than Watergate. So from the 253, the scandal/treason is much worse. Obama should be jailed in Gitmo. So this one here from Ted, Ari and Mike, way worse than Watergate. Nixon and crew did a cover-up of a break-in at the DNC HQ by his henchmen. Obama and crew co-opted multiple government agencies to try to bring down the first Trump administration. They blatantly fabricated the Steele dossier. Oh, right. For those of you who don't think this is worse than Watergate, I left out a few details. What was the manufactured evidence that they were peddling to everybody? The Steele dossier, which was created by Hillary Clinton's people as opposition research and stuff they could slam Trump with. So they knew this thing was phony. They knew this thing was fake, and they were pushing it out anyway, contrary to what their own intelligence people were saying. Here's some more information that Gabbard told Fox News.
In the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election. So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December. Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election. Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance. The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bring together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
So I ask again, do you think this is worse than Watergate or not such a big deal? Give us a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. So far, without exception, everybody over on the text line says that this is worse than Watergate. Literally everybody. In fact, the 425 says worse than Watergate, bordering on treason. Sounds like an inappropriate use of government resources. Does it sound like that to you? Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Stilgar in Fife. Stilgar, what's up, man?
Oh, Ari. The call was coming from inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's definitely worse than Watergate because they're in positions of authority. They're not little, NGO guys or like you said, henchmen, running about looking for stuff. They're making stuff up. They're weaponizing the intelligence divisions and everything like that. It's egregious, and I think the real issue that a lot of us are running up against is that nobody ever gets held truly accountable for anything. Lois Lerner is allowed to retire. Hillary Clinton says washed with a cloth.
Or what difference does it make after what happened in Benghazi? That's what Hillary Clinton says, right?
Right. They wiped the server, the illegal server. They smashed all those BlackBerries. You've got anybody, all these guys are guilty of so many things, and nobody even gets indicted.
Yeah. Well, actually, hang on a second, Stilgar. That might actually be changing. Because today, the Justice Department confirmed that it has received Tulsi Gabbard's criminal referral related to the claims that the Obama-era officials manufactured and politicized the intelligence. Now, remember when Donald Trump was debating Hillary Clinton? And he said because you'd be in jail, and then people were mad that he didn't actually go after Hillary Clinton. The question is, did they actually have the evidence at the time? Now, you may say, well, we knew all the stuff about the bleach bit, and we knew all the stuff about destroying the electronic devices. But now we're looking at all this. I mean, you're looking at a point where you wonder, Barack Obama, are we going to go after him now? I mean, look, the Democrats took the gloves off when they started going after Trump because basically they made it if Trump had lost that election, they would have arrested him, jailed him, you name it, for everything. If he didn't win that election, that's what they would have tried to do to him, making us a banana republic. Do you want the Trump administration doing that to all the people from the Obama or Biden administration?
Well, I think, unfortunately, that it has to happen. And we've been afraid for so long. It's like, oh, no, if we do it to them, they'll do it to us. It's like, well, if you didn't commit a crime, don't be afraid. Be brave. Go get them.
Yeah.
We're tired of it. We're just sick and tired of it. I'm tired of working my butt off so that people can go steal $999 at the grocery store that I end up paying more for.
Yeah, or think about the in Washington or in California, you can steal up to $1,000 worth of equipment before anything actually gets mad at you. Stilgar, completely hear where you're coming from. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? You want to weigh in on this? You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 from the 425. Much, much worse than Watergate. The legacy media is complicit. If the Democrats didn't have the legacy media as their megaphone, then the so-called scandal would have died on the vine. Here's one from Matt. Of course it is worse than Watergate, but to quote Leonard Skinner, now Watergate does not bother me. Very, very good, Matt. Very, very good. Yeah, people are really ticked off about this. This one from the dude in BC. It's about time past governments got caught and finally red-handed. Hope the same thing happens to Canada. Well, dude in BC, I'm not following the Canada stuff. I mean, I appreciate your passion and where you're coming from, but a lot of people have a lot to answer for, especially Trudeau, for what they did to people during the whole COVID situation when they were putting people up in the hotels. Here's something else to think about, though, by the way. When you consider all the stuff going on with Jeffrey Epstein and all the stuff that is not or is being released, all that back and forth, right? The Democrats would do anything to take down Trump. They manufactured this entire scandal. Manufactured this entire Russia scandal. The Democrats are now calling for the release of all the Epstein stuff, thinking Trump's in them. Do you think that a party that did all this, if they had the goods on Trump and the Epstein files, don't you think they would have released them by now? Don't you think they would have released them by now? That's what I think. You disagree, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts, plus a 911 operator who got fired during COVID gets a massive settlement from the city of Seattle. We'll give you the details on that when we come back. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Yet another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Judy in Redmond. Judy, what's going on?
Oh, my gosh, it is pure treason what they pulled off with that stupid Russia hoax. And every time they pull one off and they called Trump up, it cost us taxpayers tons of money. So who's going to pay us back?
That's a good question. That's a very, very good question. Who also is going to be held responsible? I mean, it seems like, Judy,
right.
you're in agreement with everybody over on the text line. I mean, people are getting really heated on the text line. I don't normally see them this heated. There's a lot of calls for extreme measures, which I won't read on air, but people are really upset about this.
Well, we have a right to be because we pay our tax, especially here in Washington State. We're taxed through the nose, and then we've got all these other taxes to come on. And finally, we have a breath of fresh air with Donald Trump. And they try to ruin his first presidency with all this Russian hoax. And then they steal the next election. And I would love to see Hillary Clinton in a striped outfit and Barack Obama and all taken down to Florida and thrown into with the illegal immigrants because it's all their fault.
Oh, to Alligator Alcatraz?
Oh, yes. Well, wait a minute. That's too good for him. Maybe they need to go down to
El Salvador? Send them to the place in El Salvador. It's not as much of a resort as Alligator Alcatraz. I'll tell you a funny joke I saw today, Judy. I think this one was from the Babylon Bee. A funny joke I saw is you can't charge Obama with treason because he was never a citizen anyway. I thought that was a funny one. Judy, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let me ask you guys another question because you're so hot on this one. Do you think this whole thing with the Epstein files is a game of 5D chess with Donald Trump? Do you think it's the Democrats never want to release it beforehand, so now when I release all this stuff, they can't claim it was bias because when we finally release all this stuff, they're going to be the ones who asked for it? Do you think it's a massive game of 4D, 3D, 5D? I don't care how many Ds, but it's a lot of chess that Donald Trump is playing. Right here, this one from Nick. This is a good text. I never thought about this. How many never-Trumpers are that way over the Russia hoax? Good question, Nick. That's actually a really, really good one. Yeah, a lot of you are saying, in reality, this one from Jeff and Kent over on the Warrior Injury Law text line. In reality, I doubt anyone will be held accountable or go to jail. Yeah, unfortunately, that's something that people are very, very concerned about is anybody actually going to be held accountable to any of this? This one here from Nelson in Auburn. Mike and Ari. Watergate was nothing compared to what the Biden administration has done to our country. The Biden family and everyone involved for opening up our borders should be held for treason to the United States. No question. No one has any idea the extent of the danger our country is in from terrorists now in the U.S., which, by the way, we've seen some of the danger already. We've seen some of these criminals and the awful things they've done to U.S. citizens. Is anybody going to be held accountable for that? Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Switching gears back to a story here that apparently happened in March and we're only finding out about now. In a major legal and moral victory for religious liberty advocates, Marina Shinderuk, you remember her? She was a former 911 police communications supervisor with the Seattle Police Department, has secured a 7-figure settlement from the city of Seattle, the largest known payout related to COVID-19 vaccine mandate terminations in the city to date. She was a 14-year veteran of the 911 call center. We had her on the show. Was terminated in November 2021, despite receiving a religious exemption from the city's COVID vaccine mandate. The city, while publicly claiming to offer fair exemption rules, refused to accommodate her, prompting a legal fight that would ultimately expose not just bureaucratic failure, but what some now call a coordinated act of desperation by city leadership. A recent bombshell report has cast new light on Seattle's handling of vaccine mandate exemptions. At the center of the controversy is an October 13, 2021 meeting of department heads during which Adrian Thompson, a former senior advisor to then-Mayor Jenny Durkin, allegedly told department leaders that no religious accommodations would be approved, despite a public process that suggested otherwise. Seattle Fire Department Deputy Chief Tom Walsh later described the process as a sham, claiming that city leadership had predetermined the outcomes before any applications were even reviewed. Numerous employees, including firefighters and 911 dispatchers, have since come forward and said they were misled into believing their exemption requests would be considered in good faith. For Marina Shinderuk, this confirmed what she already suspected, that the termination was not about safety, it was about politics. Marina's story begins far from City Hall. She immigrated to the United States from Ukraine as a child, raised in a devout Christian family, and lived modestly and refused government handouts. She began working at the age of 18 in the airline industry, and after a layoff in 2008, she pivoted to public service by joining Seattle's 911 call center. Over the next 14 years, she rose from telecommunicator to dispatcher and finally to police communications supervisor. Known for her professionalism and calm under pressure, she received multiple commendations, trained news dispatchers, and worked grueling schedules, often 52 to 56 hours a week, to keep the city safe during emergencies. Even during the height of the pandemic and anti-ICE police protests in downtown Seattle, Marina reported to work at the West Precinct, walking past hostile crowds and graffiti to make sure 911 calls were answered. She volunteered for overtime, participated in charity events, assisted with crisis line work for first responders. Her dedication, however, meant nothing when City Hall decided to enforce its mandate with zero tolerance for dissent, even from those with legally protected religious beliefs. In August of 2021, Mayor Durkin's administration announced the vaccine mandate. Marina, standing firm in her religious convictions, applied for and received a religious exemption. Initially, the city promised accommodations, masks, distancing, testing, all that, which she agreed to, but then the city reneged. Despite offering multiple alternative arrangements, including remote work, relocation within the office, or enhanced safety protocols, Marina was never given an accommodation. Instead, she was terminated 5 weeks after receiving her exemption, dismissed over a brief Zoom call and a form letter. Her requests were never seriously considered. At the time of her firing, she was a single mother of 3. The termination cost her more than her job. It cost her her pension, her health care, and financial stability. Unable to find similar employment in Seattle, she was forced to sell her home and move to the Midwest, uprooting her children and starting from scratch. Meanwhile, the city was left struggling to replace her during a critical shortage of first responders, losing not only her experience, but also her training and supervision of others. After exhausting all administrative channels, Marina filed a religious discrimination lawsuit against the city of Seattle. She did it not only to make her family whole, but to send a clear message that cities cannot trample on constitutional rights without consequence. She spent over 2 years gathering documents, conducting interviews, and building her case. And with the help of her attorney, she forced the city into a record-breaking settlement. So according to her attorney, Robert Bouvat, who said to us in a statement, "My firm secured an $875,000 settlement for our wonderful client, Marina Shinderuk. Let it be known that when Seattle and other governments discriminate against their employees' religious practices in pursuit of a political agenda, people like Marina and lawyers like myself will hold them accountable." Marina's legal victory is now seen as a potential precedent for other lawsuits stemming from the mandate. Among them is the case involving 39 terminated firefighters and many of these other cases whose people we have had on this show. This is a huge, huge deal. Legal experts suggest that Marina's case has exposed the systemic flaws in how the city processed exemption requests and may shape the outcomes of future cases. Now, if you want to read more about Marina's case, I wrote an article about it, which I posted up at kvi.com. Head on over to kvi.com. It's up there right now. You can check it out. It's also got links to various other cases that are going on right now, as well as a crowdfunding site for Marina, because originally she was taking this whole thing on as a single mother of 3 and lost her pension, lost her job, because the city of Seattle had predetermined that they weren't going to give any accommodations for anybody who refused the vaccine mandate. Do you think this is a set precedent now that is good news for other people who are in similar situations, like the cases I mentioned? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, more of your calls, more of your texts, and a lot of you are still hot about Obama trying to subvert the Trump administration. We'll get to all those when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Obama!
Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and 4 tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Yet another reason to always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. Don't forget, you can also stream us at KVI.com and whatever your preferred podcast platform is. But if you go over to KVI.com, you can see this new article that I put out that is blowing up the phone lines about this massive settlement the city of Seattle had back in March that we're only finding out about now, about a 911 operator they fired who refused their vaccine mandate. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our friend Bob in Seattle, who is a firefighter, I should say a terminated firefighter under the same mandate. Bob, how'd you feel hearing that story?
Well, I know Marina very well. I know her personally, and I'm just very happy for her. To be honest with you, I think the city got off easy. If she would have pushed a little harder, she'd have probably gotten a bigger settlement. She did not have the details that we do. We have Dr. Harvey Risch, who is a Yale epidemiologist, who has called Dr. John Lynch, which is the representative for the University of Washington, has called him either ignorant or dishonest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, let's not forget, back in March, I mean, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that back in March when the settlement was done, we didn't have some of the information we have now. I think, didn't we find out in April or May that the city had never planned on giving the exemptions, and we know that now, and that's after the settlement?
That is 100% correct. As a matter of fact, a disinterested third party was interviewed during an investigation, and that disinterested third party happened to be the second tier level management for the city of Seattle Fire Department, and he swore under oath that Adrian Thompson said, "We're never going to give those guys a accommodation. We're just not going to do it."
Exactly.
And I don't know. I just looked it up. There's a 18 USC 242 provides for criminal penalties for people who intentionally violate civil rights.
Yeah, and
now,
you should be asking yourself,
it's
here's the thing, Bob. You guys should take care of yourselves first, but I think after your case is over, which hopefully they stop dragging out soon, what I actually think you guys should be doing is sending all this to the Trump administration.
Well, we are, and let me point something else out, and this is probably the biggest thing. And if they think that after we win that we're going to stop, they're crazy. Because let me tell you about a little detail for those citizens of Seattle who think who cares, no big deal. They got multiple grants, probably in the dozens of grants from the federal government over COVID. One grant by itself was $300 million. Do you realize that as a condition of that grant, they cannot discriminate against people on any of the race, creed, color. They can't do that.
Well, it'd be pretty fun.
Okay? And if they do,
yeah, it'd be pretty fun.
If they do discriminate, they have to pay it back.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It would be fun if the Trump administration was actually able to claw back those funds. Bob, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Back to Jason and Lacey. Jason, what's going on, man?
Hey, so I'm really happy that the operator got won her case and got compensated for that bad call. I'm not happy that that's just more of our tax dollars going out the door, and I really want, and I'm glad that the previous guy was on talking about going even further after they win their cases, because I really want to see some accountability for these people that are destroying our tax dollars and just throwing it out the window. I mean, I want to see some accountability for these people.
So do you remember the plot of Lethal Weapon 4? Lethal Weapon 4, you have Riggs and Murtaugh get promoted to captain because the department can't carry insurance on them anymore because they've caused so much chaos and destruction. Now, what I would love to see happen is actually see City of Seattle lose their insurance carrier. But then, as you say, what would happen was it would come back to us, and we'd lose that money, and we'd have to pay it out in taxes, which would be super, super unfortunate. The problem is, with holding public officials accountable, in the city of Seattle, there is something called the public duty doctrine. The public duty doctrine basically says, well, I was just doing my duty. I was just doing my job as a public official. and they basically get away with whatever they want because of that, which is absolutely crazy. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Tim, who's in the car. Tim, what's going on?
How you doing, Ari? Love your show.
Thank you.
Regarding the Obama mess, I suggest that Trump, if possible, withhold until this thing is sorted out, withhold any funds that are going towards building the presidential library for Obama. Makes things a little bit uncomfortable for him.
You know, I think that's brilliant, and I find something else funny. Here, we'll do a little bet over on the text line, okay? What do you think after all the delays with the Obama one that's still not built? The Bush one was built pretty quickly. Obama spoke at that one during his time in office. So what do you think is going to be built first? The Trump Hotel, Library, and Casino? Or do you think the Obama library? Which one do you think is going to be built first? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Tim, which one do you think is going to be built first?
Anything Trump's involved in is going to be fast.
So what'll happen is Trump will be like, you know, we have the best hotel and casino in Las Vegas. We have the best one. We're just going to put the presidential library right next to it, and then we'll build a new pool on top of it. I could just imagine. That's what he did with the Israeli embassy. He goes, wait a minute, we've got another government official building here in Israel. Why don't we just turn that into the embassy, and then we move the embassy to Jerusalem? Right. Done. Tim, great call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. I think we got time for one more. We go to George in Kenmore. George, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, just to twist the knife a little deeper on this Russia thing, I think somebody one of the researchers or producers or somebody should find all the metrics, maybe it's the FBI database or whatever, but, the radical Islam versus the leftist Antifa versus the white supremacist, and get the metrics of how many people died, because as we know, the Summer of Love and stuff like that, there was like 25 people killed.
No, it's more than that, I think, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, but somebody needs to break out all these categories and say, look, people, and then put that in front of the clappers of the world, and oh, by the way, what they did was treason.
Yeah, and the problem is
trying to throw an election.
Right. Like I've been saying, George, this whole time, the problem is holding public officials accountable. And can you imagine what's going to happen with the mainstream media? The mainstream media is going to be like, oh, he's going after his political enemies. And the Democrats are going to do the same thing. And then us people on the radio are going to be like, guys, did you not see the last 4 years and what they tried to do to Trump? George, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate the kind words as well. When we come back, only good news. Your good news headlines, your good news giveaway, your chance to win $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway and before we get to our good news headlines, got some entertaining texts on our last segment. What do you think will get built first? The Trump Hotel, Library, and Casino or Obama's library, which has been delayed for years and years and years and years? This one from the 425. Of course, Trump will get his library built before Obama finishes his, and he will save money. I would tend to agree. Meanwhile, in our good news headlines, this one from the Good News Network, it takes guts, experience, and community connections to be a beat cop, not the sort of environment where you'd expect to see a senior club. Walk the beat was the brilliant and likely life-saving idea cooked up by the Boston Police Department during COVID-19 to keep seniors active, engaged, and safe. Police officer escort groups from the Charlestown Police Station on a walk around the city. Other times they organize yoga classes or exercise programs. Coming out of COVID, we want to come up with an idea to get our seniors out in a safe environment, said Boston Police Sergeant Gino Provenzano. He told CBS Boston the program now includes dozens of women and some other men all over the age of 55. They meet Wednesday at 10 a.m., and whether it's Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox or somebody else on the beat with them, the consensus is clear. They make for a lively bunch. The police officers make conversation, guarantee expedient road crossings, and drive any stragglers back home in their squad cars if they can't carry on. Quote, it's been fabulous. It's been the best thing I ever did for myself because I was the one that would stick in the house and not move, said 89-year-old Barbara. It gets me out because all my friends have passed, gets me with the new group. I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of the Police Academy movie Citizens on Patrol, where the old lady shows up and wants to be one of these. That's kind of what I'm thinking about here. The program is free to join, runs in multiple neighborhoods. Anyone interested need only call the most local district community service officer. I think that's an adorable idea. It's nice to see people involved with the community. So yesterday I'm out on the boat, and we're out on Lake Washington. I'm driving past an area which I never really noticed what was on people's docks before, and as I'm going by, I see this one dock which has two benches on it. One bench is painted red. One bench is painted blue. Both are very, very weathered from the elements. They've clearly been out there a very long time. And when I posted a picture of this, because one bench says Republicans and the other one says Democrats, a lot of people said to me, how long you been out on the lake for? Is this something you've never noticed before? Sorry, guys, I have never noticed this thing before. I point out to people the dinosaur house, you know, the one over near Medina, which has the T-Rex skeleton in it. I point out that house. I point out the Seahawks training center. I point out the house near the dinosaur house, which is meant to look like it fell in an earthquake, where urban legend has it that the architect who designed this thing was committed to a mental institution. It actually looks like a mental institution, the place. It's a little goofy looking. So I point out that stuff. I point out Paul Allen's old house, which I don't even know if that's still part of the battle of his family stuff. Maybe that's where he's hiding all the Star Trek stuff. Who actually knows? I point out all that stuff. He's got a house coming out of the hill that looks like it's Noah's Ark. Very, very cool. I point out the Seahawks training facility. We go on over to Boeing. We look at the airplanes being built. When the hangars open, you can see what's going on inside. But I've never noticed these two benches before. If there's other things you think I haven't noticed on Lake Washington, and I've been cruising around Lake Washington for a while now, that you think are must-see items, email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. Would love to check it out. Love seeing new things. Now I will for sure always show my guests those two benches. It's pretty entertaining. I put a picture of them up on social media. And like I said, you can see people calling me out for not noticing these things before. Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram. The Hofffather over on Twitter. But yeah, if you have something on Lake Washington you think is a must-see, a must-view, I know about the dinosaur house. I know about the earthquake house. I, of course, know where the Seahawks training facility is and where Boeing is. But if you think there's something else unique and interesting on Lake Washington, email me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. Tell me what you think it is. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union, with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life. For 30-plus years, from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so that future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit MadronaFinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we are giving away 4 tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Food, rides, and fun are back in Monroe, Washington at the Evergreen State Fair. Get your tickets now at evergreenfair.com. That's evergreenfair.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10. Win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and 4 tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. You can get your tickets for the Evergreen State Fair now at evergreenfair.com. That's evergreenfair.com. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. 5757. And just before we go, saw one other story from the Good News Network that now a whole bunch of grandmothers and other seniors, yes, it's senior day around here, are now getting into video games, which are now seeing it as just another challenge in life to beat. I don't know about you guys. Video games were much harder when I was a kid than they are right now because now they're all designed for the group play and they want to keep you engaged on that. So they keep you there longer so you don't die as often or you can always respawn. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.